settings, there's a secret hidden menu called the Developer Options, and this menu is filled with juicy, valuable features that most people don't even know exists. For example, when you connect your phone to the computer, and you need to do the annoying process of dropping down the status bar and selecting the bottom notification just to change the USB preference to transfer files. Why do we need to do all that? Well, within the developer options, there's a setting called Default USB Configuration, and that lets you select file transfer as your default choice. So now, whenever you connect your phone to the computer, your files will automatically pop up without needing to do those extra steps. Another excellent feature is that if you have an app that doesn't support split screen mode like Instagram, you can still force it to open it in split screen anyway by enabling force activities to be resizable within the developer options. Thanks. You scroll down to the bottom, tap on About Phone, scroll down again until you see build number, and tap it 7 times. It'll have you confirm your passcode and then you receive a toast message that says you're now a developer. From there, go back to the previous screen, tap on Sys and then there it is, Developer Options. Snuggles or a few missing toggles. It all depends on what phone you're using. For those curious, I'll be explaining the options with my Google Pixel 5 running Android 12 Beta 4. Now the first option at the top is called Memory and it's pretty self-explanatory. It tells you how much memory your phone has and the average amount of time that is being used. It's not in real time, but it does tell you the average memory used for the past 3 hours. Or you can change it to 6 hours, 12 hours, or 1 full day. Not only that, but you can even see what apps are consuming your memory. Usually, it's system apps, but diving in deeper, you can tap on any of them to see how frequently they're using your memory and go down a bit further and you'll see an option called Running Services. Here you'll see what apps and services are currently running in the background. If you find a service that is taking up too much memory, you can quickly terminate it. Can use bug report found within the developer options to capture these bugs so that you can send them to the developers so that they can fix the problem. The bug report feature will keep a log of every action that you begin to do, and it would even capture the issue you're experiencing. To share the bug report, you just tap on the notification. Pretty easy and it really helps developers find issues faster. Plus within the developer options, if you scroll down even further, can have the bug report button up here in your power menu for easier access. It reports by enabling verbose vendor logging within the developer options. It just helps out the developer by letting him know what phone manufacturer you have. Computer with a simple ADB command called ADB backup-all. And whatever directory your command prompt is set to, it'll save this backup as a file called backup has been ADB restore, along with the file path in which the backup.ab file is located in. Simple. Just make sure you have ADB and all in your computer and USB debugging enabled, and that's pretty much it. Also within the developer options, you can even set a password to encrypt these full desktop backups under the menu called Desktop Backup Passwords. The Stay Awake toggle keeps your phone awake indefinitely while you charge it until you manually press the lock key. Enable Bluetooth HCI Snitcher. This will create a log of your Bluetooth usage over time. OEM unlocking is one of the most important toggles within the developer option. When you enable this, you're allowing your bootloader to become unlocked after you do a simple ADB command and then do things like install custom ROMs, obtain Maja's Manager for a bunch of awesome modifications and a lot more. WebView implementation just lets you choose between a different in-app browser whenever you tap on a link within an app to just Twitter or Instagram. That WebView app gets used. Personally, the default Android system WebView works just fine, so I stick with that. Next, some devices have an advanced reboot option, which is really useful for anyone who is rooted since you can quickly jump into the recovery or bootloader through the power menu. Automatic system updates just lets you automatically apply any available software updates whenever your phone restarts. DSU Loader is strictly for developers who want to test their apps on stock Android since it lets them install the latest GSI from Google without needing to input any ADB or fast boot commands. System UI Demo Mode is what I like to use in most of my videos since it cleans up my status bar by removing any notification icons, keeping the time the same, and it matches the Android version number. Plus my tiles is self-explanatory. It allows you to put some of the settings found within your developer options into your quick settings panel. A lot of them are meant for developers, but the that I like to use are Sensors Off and Wireless Debugging. Sensors Off disables almost every sensor on your phone including cameras, GPS, and microphone, perfect for staying private. While Wireless Debugging lets you connect your phone to your command prompt, Wireless leaves that can quickly launch any ADB command. So I can literally install apps, reboot my phone, launch into the bootloader, and a lot more without needing a cable. You just have to make sure your phone and computer are connected to the same Wi-Fi as still by using a USB key debugging access to any computer. Anyone can just control your phone without needing to unlock unripped USB debugging authorizations within the developer options so that any previous computer authorizations get revoked. Now in the future, those same computers will need you to unlock the phone again to grant access. Finally, by default, any ADB authorizations get automatically revoked after 7 days of not reconnecting to your computer. But if you like to disable this timeout, just toggle on Disable ADB Authorization Timeout. If you ever want to spook your current location, you can do so with Select Mock Location app. You just need to download an app like Fake GPS Location from the Play Store to get this to work. Forceful GNSS measurements are just for developers who want to accurately edit. Whenever you install app with the USB through ADB commands, Google, you just need to make sure that Verify Apps over USB is enabled, and you're in Tinder's runtime to verify the bytecode for apps that you install. When you record audio, your microphones need a minuscule amount of time to analyze the sounds. Choose the logger size of each buffer. But honestly, unless you're in big-time audiophile, I wouldn't mess with it. You know those experimental features found within Google Chrome labeled as flags? While feature flags within the developer options is pretty much the same concept. It was heavily used back in Android 10 and 11, believe, for game developers. If you're a big gamer, you may be able to improve your gaming experience with graphics driver preferences. In this menu, you can select the graphics driver on a per-app basis. Personally, for every game that I had, I just selected System Graphics Driver as my preference. For options called App Compatibility Changes, makes it really easy to quickly toggle a new platform behavior changes instead of typing many ADB commands. It saves app developers a ton of time. If your phone has a 90 or 120 Hz display, chances are not every app or screen is running at those high refresh rates. They most likely drop at 60 Hz to save battery life. My Pixel 5, for example, drops to 60 Hz whenever I'm not interacting with the screen or when I'm in the camera app. How do I know this? Well, a toggle called Show Refresh Rate lets me know. For the apps that have the permission called Display over other apps, you can also have them show their floating windows when you're in the system settings. You just need to enable Allow Screens Overlays on settings, and also for those curious, I'm using an app called Floating Apps for this demonstration. I'll go called Force Peak Refresh Rate. But if you do, enabling it will force your display always stay at the maximum refresh rate no matter what app you use. So in my case, system tracing is just for app developers. It lets them collect system activity to learn about what's going on with the device and how they can improve performance when their app is being run. The first option called Wireless Display Certification is only useful. The next option, Wi-Fi Verbose Logging, lets you keep a more advanced logging of your Wi-Fi connections and network signal strength. Nothing fancy here. Wi-Fi Scan Throttling helps save your battery life and improves the network performance by limiting how often apps can scamper Wi-Fi. In other words, this option is there, so apps cannot just scamper Wi-Fi whenever they want. MAC randomization causes your device to change the MAC address time you connect to a Wi-Fi network. It's just for privacy reasons so that your device doesn't use the same MAC address for everything. I actually toggle this on. The next option called mobile data always active, and the only reason they do this is for faster network switching. But honestly, it's a huge battery junior. If you live outside of the US, I would definitely recommend turning it off. But use MMS because you enable show Bluetooth devices without names in the developer options. Then every Bluetooth device, including those with just MAC addresses, will appear when you try to pair. It's just like default when connected. Your phone and Bluetooth device both volume. You'll then be able to separate the two. You can set your Bluetooth device's volume to an acceptable level, then use your phone's volume buttons for fine-tune adjustments. It comes in hand. As if the settings couldn't have gotten even more bizarre, there's an option called Enable Gabeldorch. This enables Google's new upcoming Bluetooth stack conversion. One of that time though, and as our buds or Bluetooth speaker have the best possible sound profile, there's something called Bluetooth audio codec. And in this menu, you can select an even better profile if it's available. Generally speaking, AAC already provides really great sound quality. So if you have that option, choose it. SBC is the lowest audio quality, so try to avoid that. Qualcomm aptX HD audio is just as good as AAC, which some saying it provides even better quality. And finally, LDAC is Sony's proprietary Bluetooth streaming codec, which provides the highest quality, so you can increase the sampling rate, audio bits, and channel mode. I personally didn't have those options since my headphones didn't support it, but if you do, try to see what you can do. Within the input section, you can choose to show the taps. This is great when you're screen recording anything and want to show the person exactly what you're tapping on. Pointer location draws increase the line, showing a more precise drawing of where the screen has been swiped. That option is definitely for developers, and that's it for the intersection. How and make their apps more compatible with other devices. Starting with Show Surface Updates, this helps developers see what part of their app is doing work. It does this by flashing the screen rapidly. Shell Layout bounces even fancier since it clearly marks every border, clip bound, margin, etc. It's used during the app development to validate the positioning and alignment of visual items on the screen. If you'd like to flip the entire screen from right to left, you can do so with Forest RTL layout direction. It's kind of weird, though, and gives me a ton of brain farts. Actually, think about it. It would actually be a good prank on a friend. You can increase, decrease, or just stop the window animation, transition animation, and animator duration. I personally just keep those at 1x, but I know that a few people like to go with 0.5x for the extra speed. Simulate secondary displays does as the title implies, it enables a second screen with your choice of resolution. It's just for developers so that they can see how their app would look on different screen sizes. It's kinda cool and trippy. Small width lets you change the density independent pixels or DP of your display so that you can have everything be smaller or bigger. Some people even like to make the DP even bigger to see even more stuff at once on the screen. Display cutout lets you hide your notch or hole punch if your screen has one or at least tries to, but it's also used by developers to make their apps more compatible with different types of displays. Action is to help game developers improve the games. With the view updates, you can have parts of the screen flashed red whenever the GPU is operating an object. The hardware layers updates does pretty much the same thing, but it differs by flashing a green light whenever updates are made to the hardware layers. It helps the game developers optimize the performance whenever there is a severe amount of green flashes. The debug GPU overdraw will tell you when the same place on the screen has been drawn over multiple times by different objects, and it shows you this by color-coding the overdrawn views. It helps developers improve the performance when use override force dark is in my top 3 favorite toggle. Don't have a dark mode to have one. So apps like Amazon, Google Opinion Rewards, and Geekbench 5 can now all have a dark theme with a simple switch of a button. Force 4X MSAA is for gamers to help them have better graphics and improve the overall visual experience. But it does take up a lot of performance, and is a huge battery drainer, so I wouldn't enable this. Even disable hardware overlays is a bit more complicated to plane. Simulate color space is an option that developers can use to see what their apps would look like to color-blind users. It's pretty cool, and you can also use this to turn your screen black and white. First one is for audiophiles. It disables automatic routing to USB audio peripherals, like a USB dock. And then the second option lets you configure some options for when your sound or video gets transcoded. There are times when apps take longer than usual to do operations, whether it be in the background or foreground, which can cause battery drain. Well, when you enable strict mode, you'll know exactly when this happens because the screen will flash. Profile HWUI rendering is pretty sick. It allows you to display a graph on the screen of how the GPU is working under the hood in real time. So whenever you open an app or run an animation, you'll see the graph shoot up. The first option, called Don't Keep Activities Force, closes every app you leave, which can seem like a good thing, and it is if you're looking at it from a privacy standpoint. But from a battery standpoint, this is a terrible option since you're forced to close every app you leave, and CPU will need to work overtime whenever you open an app because it'll never be on standby. So I would highly suggest leaving this option off. The next option, called Background Process Limit, will allow you to choose how many apps or processes are allowed to run in the background and just choose at most 4 processes. Like, why so little? Wait a minute. What's this? It's saying to no. Make it enough. Background Check lets you quickly find those pests. Use any of the CPU cycles while cached, being that there are sometimes misbehaving apps that may attempt to run while being cached. The suspend execution for cached apps stop them and helps reduce the power consumption greatly. That's why I had this option enabled. The notification channel warnings are just for developers to make sure that they're after running end of 12, can prioritize some notifications over others, so that they always appear at the top. But if you like to reset the notification importance, you can do it from the developer options. Standby apps is a juicy setting. Here you'll see a list of all your apps installed, and you can place each app into a group. There are 5 group active activity are at the highest level and don't have any restrictions, so they can keep functioning as per their default settings. This includes apps like messaging or the phone app. Working set puts a medium level restriction, but the apps can keep functioning as usual. This can be apps like Google Maps or Chrome. Frequent put stronger restrictions, but it's still able to run. I put some games in this setting. Rare puts strict rules on their ability to run in the background, receive messages, and can't connect to the internet while in the background. And Relay, you can save space on your internal memory. Believe it or not, apps can become floating windows on Android, so you can literally be scrolling on your home screen and have Twitter be on top of the screen. To do this, just turn on Enable Freeform Windows within the developer app, then within the Recents menu tap on the app's icon that you like to turn into a window and tap on Freeform. It's a bit difficult to resize the window. You can do so by pulling the corners. It's a cool feature, but it's pretty useless since you can't open another app at the same time besides your stock launcher, and you can't freeform another app simultaneously. Your Android could have a desktop mode allowing you to run Android app on a big screen, and the developer options you just need to enable forced desktop mode with a partial list of supported devices. The Shortcut Manager rate limiting option specifically for developers, it resets the rate limit to allow background apps to continue to call shortcut. The autofill section's by far the most boring part of the developer options. It's just filled with a bunch of the debug type, which is standard, or you can choose Burbos, which provides more detailed information. The other 2 options below let the developer set the maximum request for the autofill service in one session and the maximum visible dataset. Plus, you can reset those values back to default. What shared data is memory usage in the last few hours or in the last day? The first option, let's just see that and the app's taking up more strength. However, a little below, there is an option called Running Services, which lets you see RAM usage in real time. It shows you the RAM usage of the OS and the apps. And below, you get the apps running in the memory right now. You can even tap on an app and stop it if you're facing RAM issues. For some apps, it even shows you if it's using a certain permission to run in the background constantly. Now this is really useful because you can find app that might be slowing down your phone. As you can see, I'm in a game right now and it's showing me the current FPS, the CPU and the GPU node. Yeah. It's a pretty cool tool. Here it is in the developer options. I can just turn it on. And what I like is I can use all the preset widgets to show different info, or I can create a custom widget with FPS, GPU load and more. Now, this is the widget that was in action in the gaming shot you saw. Yeah, this is very cool. Let me make it clear that this is available in OneUI. Although MIUI has a kind of similar feature called PowerMoiter that you can check out. Right. It tries performance over power consumption and temperature control. So this is basically the no-holds-barred mode. I can turn this on and you get a notification saying your device will heat up. Yeah, that's promising. To get an idea of the performance boost, I ran Anti-2 and this is the Anti-2 score without the speed mode and this is with the speed mode. 20,000 is a pretty good bump if you ask me. Top option at the end of the page, don't keep activities, which kills apps as soon as you leave it. I can enable it. And now when I go to the home screen and open settings again, as you can see, it reloads. Now this is good from a privacy standpoint, but it's going to take a toll on your battery and the experience will not be very good. Now instead there's another option you can use, background process limit. This lets you limit background processes from 1 to 4 so you don't have a lot of apps just running in the background. Some apps don't support the dark mode, like Amazon. I mean, what is wrong with you, Amazon? Anyway, in the developer options, there is an option called Override Force Dark, which forces dark mode on apps that don't support it. Now, it does not always look good because apps aren't really optimized for this, but if you really want a dark mode in all apps, this is the only way to get it. It's Force 4 XMSAA, which improves the graphics in games by rendering a higher quality visuals. A lot of people have noticed the difference in the game visuals with this option, but this also brings back another option to enable is Gable Dossier, Gable Dash. Yeah, right. This enables the newer Bluetooth stack, which gives you lower latency when using Bluetooth devices. If you game with your headphones on a lot, which you probably do, enable this. Also, set the graphics driver preference to system driver for the games now. This is performance, which don't have game modes. And yeah, it does improve game performance. So